So somewhere like this. I need something to put that right there. And then, oh, that'll fall over. This might fall over. It might stay balanced there for a minute. I don't know. Oh. Blue shirt's kind of hot in here. I don't really want to wear it for public decency or whatever. Hold some of this air conditioning in here. Except we got that nice big hole up the back up. Alright. Can y'all see that when my messages pop up on the screen? Excuse me. But there's gonna be more of it. Here is a squash. See that tiny hole? There's a little green caterpillar that has been, I don't know what type he is, I don't know what he turns into. I found him burrowing into my squash. And I don't spray no pesticides on them, so my food's not poisoned. So it lets other things be able to eat it too, but some of them things, I don't want to eat them. So I'll cut that away and feed it to the birds or the chickens or something. But I really do like squash. They done deleted Shamelessburg. That's got me thinking, Brittany just come up to me and was talking about how I would say anything, about me having so much aggression, about being irritated about the smoke detectors. So who knows? They might delete my channel. I don't know. I guess I'd make another one day, figure out how to use BitChute or something, or I don't know. That little hole in there, there's a little green caterpillar in the squash. Hey, Ravenheart. Hello. I want to make fun of me trying to pronounce these names. I run out of coffee, y'all. I had a little bit. I didn't know. I've been like a day and a half, 2 days without coffee. See, it's kind of weak. I didn't put a lot of water in there because I didn't want it to be too weak, but I didn't have very much coffee at all. But it's going to have to do. How's your day going so far? I had the day off. Brittany didn't. Brittany had to work today. So I got a rest from work. I wasn't too hot. It rained a lot, so that I couldn't really do much outside. But I'm glad for the rain because it watered my trees. Kind of miss Brittany being at work, but she's off work now. But now she's taking a nap. But we've spent some time together today, and it's been a pretty good day. It's been a day of rest, pretty much. The chickens, I checked on them. They still had water and food. They didn't need nothing. The dogs have been eating a bunch. God bless you, too. I work for All Pro Seamless Gutters and more. And I put up garage doors and roll-up doors and insulate houses and suck out insulation of attics and blow in insulation in attics. And then I take care of my chickens and my fruit trees and build my little ponds. Some people say it's going to get hotter. Some people say it's going to get colder. I don't know what's going to happen. They said that parsley will help keep certain bugs off citrus trees and apple trees and pear trees. And I don't eat a lot of parsley, but I was thinking maybe I would plant a bunch of parsley out there. I do use the oregano more and the thyme more. My first job, my first real job was at Warburton Egg Farm. And I packed eggs. They come down on these conveyor belts and these trays with 36 eggs, and I stack them 3 on this side, stack them 6 high, and put them on a pallet and put a divider board. And I'm from Wheeler County, Georgia, After the egg farm, I worked at Kroger. Then I worked at Husqvarna and McRae making lawnmowers. And then I went and worked for a little grocery store called Piglet. And I went and worked Cherokee Landscaping Supply and worked in landscaping. Then I baled and pine straw and sold pine straw. And then I worked at J&K Creations for like 8 years, but and held a lot of concrete dust there and couldn't do it no more. And then I went to work for my mama's restaurant just in the meantime till I found another job, and I worked at All Pro. It is south of Atlanta. It's a good bit south of Atlanta. It's like about as south as Vidalia. It's not too far from Vidalia, but it's more away from the coast than Vidalia, Georgia. Now you got like Savannah, and then it comes across Georgia. You got Savannah and Vidalia, and it goes there, keeps on going to McRae and everything. Yeah, you got to, because I can't. One, I'll get bored if I don't work. It's not good for me to have too much idle time. And the other is, I'm just not going to be happy if I'm not working. And also, if I'm not working, my uncles and my dad are going to ask me every single day. Let's say I find myself in a situation where my truck is broke and it's a long way to work anywhere and nobody will take me. I'm going to find a job. I found a job where somebody would take me to work till I saved up and buy a vehicle. But it didn't matter. The inconvenience of it. Every day I'll be asked by my dad and my uncles and my granddad, have you got a job yet? Have you got a job yet? Have you got a job? So it's just, there's, living here is good, I guess. The pay isn't high, but the cost of living isn't high either. There's not a lot of government regulation, which is great. Like you could build a building without a building permit on your land here. You can do. There's not very many people per square mile, so there's not a lot of cops per square mile. There's not a lot of criminals really. Like the local people, there are some though. I'm gonna tell you, there's some addicted to meth that will take your shit. But most people won't give you any kind of problem around here, and you can live pretty safely and just pretty much mind your business. And most people, for the most part, won't care except the people that have moved in from other states. I do own property. I had to pay payments of $140 a week for years. I don't know if it was like 8 years, 6 years, something. And I bought me 7 acres. Almost. It's a little under 7 acres. I don't remember the exact number. It's like something like 6.97 or something like that, or 96 or 8, or I don't know. Now, I'm the oldest of seven that my mama gave birth to. It's Paul, Josh, Adam, Luke, Jacob, and Noah, and Gracie. And then my daddy adopted not his wife's, my stepmom, her nephews got taken by defects or something, and he adopted three of them and her son. And then my cool, I heard it's hard being a. It is. That's where I got really lucky. The thing is, most of the time, if anybody wants to sell land, they're wanting to sell like hundreds and hundreds of acres. And you would need a lot of money to be able to do that. There's not a lot of people selling small plots of land. And if they are, it's for really high prices. And so I tried to get a group of my friends. We had we were going to save up money together and buy a big piece of land and then subdivide it. But they would put a little bit of money in the fund and then just nod and was and wasn't, and it just never really got nowhere. Really, we just gave everybody their money back, and I was able to buy property faster by myself than trying to work with other people. But I wanted to give a lot of people that were kind of poor, that didn't have any land, like that was the opportunity and the way to do it. Because nobody was really selling little bits of land. Of course, you'd have to pay a surveyor a pretty good bit to subdivide everything, but I think it's good to have land. There was going to be land give to me, but it didn't wind up happening. After my granddaddy died, things went differently than what was planned, and it's a good feeling to have property because you can make your own food. I mean, depending on the type of property you have, but I think it's a good asset to have. You could borrow against it, which I've never done and probably won't do, but you could. You could bail people out of jail with it. It is a tough business. I mean, even if people's interests align, sometimes people will just be really petty. They might just, it is hard to get people to work together. Because sometimes people are only okay with that if they're in charge. Or if, it's also hard for you to get a group of people together where everybody puts in the same amount of work. There's going to be a lot of cases where in the group there's going to be slackers and people who work hard, and everybody's going to want an equal share, but everybody's not going to want to work equal. I think anybody that's worked on a group project at school has seen how this happens, and this doesn't just happen at school. It happens with any kind of organization. You'll normally have about 20% of the people doing all the real work and 80% of the people kind of slacking. And if you're giving everything out equally, it's just really. And then people have their pride and everything else, and people may not like working with certain people. People have to believe in it too, and not everybody. You got to find people that share the same vision, but you also got to. It's one thing I've learned. It's if you're going to do something, right? A lot of times it's better to have a smaller group than a larger group. Because I always thought we needed more people to get certain things done, but really, you'll go a lot further with a few motivated people that really care than just trying to get the numbers up. It's more about quality of people. Because I mean, like I say about how normally 20% is doing half the work. So, if you're willing to they don't like capitalism. Losers don't. I mean, I think a lot of people misunderstand capitalism because we don't really have it. We've got public school and we've got fractional reserve lending banking. We have socialized banking where the government owes a private banking cartel money at interest. And real capitalism is where you pretty much let the buyer and the seller agree upon what they want to buy and sell something for. It's just market freedom. It's the government pretty much leaving things alone. But you can never really have government in capitalism because you have to have some level of socialism to have government. Because you start your wealth redistribution immediately with taxes. So now something is cost more, not because it merits a higher cost, but simply because a tax has been put on it, and now the cost is artificially increased. Or someone thinks, I hate how this happens in disasters, where capitalism could have fixed the disaster if they'd let it happen. They'll set price controls. There's a water shortage. They'll say you can't sell the water for more than this price. Well, shit, there's no water in the area. It's more valuable. And if people hear, like I hear, hey, they're selling water for $50 a bottle down there, people start rushing water into the area and the price comes back down. Or you could say, oh, you're greedy for raising the price of water. You have to sell it for less than what it's worth and cause a shortage where everybody thirsts to death and has water and no one has any incentive to bring water. You're going to lose money trying to bring gas into this disaster area to bring water to a place where people won't pay anything more for it. Nobody's going to do it. So if you would just leave the if you would leave the market alone, because you're never going to be efficient enough, you're never going to be smart enough, you're never going to be wise enough to micromanage and centrally plan an entire economy. You're just never going to be able to do it. But what is good for people is to have goods and services. And so, you only need money to get goods and services. So if you've got the goods and services, I mean, money's just keeping score for the trade and barter between goods and services. So a good economy, like they'll lie about the economy a lot of times, but a good economy is when people have a high standard of living and they have the goods and services that they need rather than want. And it's not bad for people to be able to get rich by providing goods and services that people want. You need to reward doing that. I mean, I believe in a free market capitalism. I know that there's so the thing about human nature though is you've got to de-incentivize people from stealing, and you can't have an out group come in and conquer everything you've got. You can't even start to have a settled society and civilization and a market and trade to begin with if you don't have some safe place to trade, and if you don't have someone enforcing contracts between people. So inevitably, you're going to need a government for a military, for self-defense, and to uphold contracts. And they're immediately going to want a piece of the pie, and they're going to start taxing, and they're going to want to start controlling the economy. But a lot of empires have the same story. When their taxes were low, the revenue was high. When their taxes was high, the revenue was low. Because when you start taxing too much, you kill the incentive to create the wealth in the first place. And if you're not greedy and you only take a little bit, I mean that's how like a lot of people grew. Like Jeff Bezos didn't just like bathe himself in luxury in the beginning and live high on the hog. He took all his profits and put it back into Amazon for years, over and over and over again. Put everything into growing the business, and then it gets to where he's got 20% of it. He's got $200 billion. He's made like what is that, $80 billion? Like he's made a lot of people other money because he's made a service. And I know like the working conditions, people say, well, the bad working conditions, it's hard. A lot of the places where there wasn't much opportunity for high paying jobs where he put those places. And it may look like, I don't know, it's kind of tricky because like exploited, like the word exploited, that's a loose, definite, like there's supply and demand, and everybody's gonna too lazy to get into the hard trusted way. That's the problem I see globally. Yeah, there's laziness, there's lack of discipline. There's just really a lot of it comes down to you gotta want it enough. Because you can't have everything in life. There's trade-offs, and you've got to make decisions to prioritize things. And if you're going to say yes to anything, you got to say no to anything that's the opposite of what you're saying yes to. So it's more than just hard working, though, because like somebody might come to you and say, hey, well, I'm going to need you to do this favor, or will you do this for me or that? And you don't have the time. You got to say no. They'll put me off on my goal. I won't get done what I got to get done. Or someone will say, hey, well, you want to come hang out Friday? And you got to be like, no, I've already made an appointment to do this at that time. I've got to maintain my reputation for getting things done when I say I'm going to get them done. So you have to tell people no. And I know I had a boss at J&K, and he could barely multiply, and he didn't know how to add the hours because he would carry it by the 10. When you're adding minutes, it's 60 minutes rolls over to an hour, not, so it would cause some problems and stuff. But this man was very successful in business, but he had a lot of self-discipline. And even though he was kind of like, less able to do math than me like that, what he was really good at is telling people no. Telling people to fuck off. Like somebody would be like trying to get the price cheaper, and he's like, he's not interested. He would just, I'm not interested. And I had another boss at Cherokee Landscape Supply. A customer was trying to get him to deliver a lot of pine straw all the way to someplace far. We're in North Georgia, Cherokee County. And she's way in South Alabama somewhere, and she's not wanting to pay the delivery fee. She's wanting a deal because she's buying a lot of pine straw. In her mind, she's buying a lot of pine straw, but she's not. We sell to landscapers every day that pick up trailers. We even have people with dump trucks pull up, and we throw and offload shit tons of pine straw in there. And he just she's like, you don't want my business? And he said, no, I don't want cheap customers' business. I got customers that'll pay more. And I was just like, dang, that's like, Like a lot of people won't do that. Like the boss I got now is like you can't tell the customer no, and they're always right. But part of how some people get successful is they can just say no to everything that's not on their goals, everything that's not a good use of their time. They'll just tell people no. You could be hard working, and then you can't tell nobody no, and now you're just hard working for everybody else. You could have had a side business or something going on, but you doing everything here, there, blown by the wind and whatever. So also, you got to be able to have a certain temperament. You have to get up there somehow. People don't see the long, hard story behind people. That's exactly true. That is exactly true. And people will want you to pay for their dreams. They're not going to help you. Like I had a boy. I'm gonna tell this story. Okay, he went. He's like, I'm not gonna say his name, his family or whatever. I don't know who's watching. Not that I wouldn't just call. I don't know, just out of respect for his family, kind of, I guess. But he was always kind of lazy, and his parents would get them to do him and his brother to do like y'all like they'd be sent to do a chore together as a group. Y'all go cut the grass. Y'all go pick up pine cones. Y'all go clean the room, whatever. And he always slacked off. It was always the other brother that was always doing the work. And their daddy was an alcoholic at the time. Their parents fought a lot. And they were real poor. And there was a lot of them. They had another sister, there's at least three of them. I guess it wasn't really a lot of them. But the oldest brother would walk, didn't have a car, didn't have nothing, would walk from Advance, Georgia into McRae to work at Piggly Wiggly. He's walking quite a long walk. He would walk back and forth to work. He joined the Navy. He got married. He had a child. The other brother wound up in a mental institution. The other brother was talking about a rap career. He was always lazy, like I said, slacking off. And he was saying that we weren't good friends to him, that we should help support his dreams, that he would get rich like Lil Wayne the rapper, and he would come back with like some kind of vehicle, throwing stacks of money at us and everything. And the thing was, and at this time in the area, the economy was not good at all. It wasn't. And he kept coming to everybody wanting to know advice, and everybody giving the same advice. I mean, he's like, just graduating high school. You need to get a job. Like, get a job and save up sound equipment. Get a job. You need a job. And he was saying that we didn't believe in him, that he needed to have like faith that it was going to work out. He didn't need no plan B. He just did not want to get a job. And he wound up coming into the house one day, and me and my brother were sitting at the table, and we had just worked a long day at work. We had unloaded trucks for J&K, and we were sitting there, and I think we was eating a pizza, and I think we was smoking some weed or something. He comes in there, and he's saying, it must be nice. He started talking about how it's like, I forget what my brother was talking about he had bought or whatever. And he was talking about how we were rich or something, and I said, you're richer than we are because you eat and you don't work. Because that's how he lived. He ate off food stamps and didn't work a job, lived off his parents, lived off his friends, bummed off everybody. And he kept sharing things on Facebook like, when I had bread, I fed everybody, but now nobody wants to give me no crumbs and all this. But he had never given anything to anybody. He was always taken from everybody. And when he was a smaller child, him and his brothers and sisters would play with my younger brothers and sisters, and I would give them like pizza and toaster strudels, and but when he was grown up, he still wanted stuff for free, and it's time to become a man and get a job. And he just did not want to do it, and he wound up getting on drugs. He wound up just drifting from place to place. But I think they say he's starting to do better now that he's out of the mental institution. But he just had a lot of pride, and he thought that he should have a lot for nothing, and he didn't want to work for it. But anyway, I got distracted anyway. He said that we was richer. I said, you're richer than we are because you eat and don't work, and he had something on the table, and he went to push by me and go by my rib cage or something. And I thought the boy was trying to fight me or something. Oh, because he told me I couldn't say that. I didn't need to be saying that. And I'm like, I'm in my house. I can say whatever I want. If you don't like it, you can get out. And he said he would only get out if I asked him nicely. And I was like, no, you getting out of my house. And he went to get something from the table and walked by me. So I pushed his chest and his hat flew off his head and he fell on the floor. And then he got up and left and he went down there to Lee's and he was raising hell. And Justin was down there and Justin was about ready to fight him for talking bad about me. And he wound up getting kicked out down there. And he just was downhill from there. But damn. Like the hell, you gonna come in my house, tell me I don't have free speech in my house, that I'm supposed to support your dreams and give you money, and you're gonna be in my house even if I tell you to leave, and I gotta ask you nicely? No, you don't have authority over me to where I gotta ask you to please get out of my house. Fucking shit. But that's your future communist right there. That's the You got more than me. You should give to me. I had lead lines in my bones. We grew up poor. Our house was lead. I suffered when I was growing up. And then what I have now, I pay for it. And people just aren't going to care. Even if they do care, they're not going to care enough to just work everything and just give it to you for no reason. They've got their own dreams and their own things that they want to do. And the communists are really just a bunch of losers team up to vote to take everything from the achievers. And they realize that they can do it that way. You can have a tyranny of the weak, a tyranny of the less able, a tyranny of the less virtuous. And they project their own greed. They're the greediest sort. They're so greedy because they think that they should have what they haven't earned. And they think that the people who earned are greedy for not just giving it to them. But they're really projecting their own greed, and they resent. They're not willing to put the work in, and they resent they feel that they are equal to others or better than others, and they should have what others have. But they don't put in the work to get it, and they don't see the work because you really when I spent a lot of money to learn how to take care of bees. I had bees get killed by ants, wax moths infest. I had all kind of failures before I started getting success with it. And same with chicken, same with anything I've done in my life. You got to not really fear failure, and you got to just keep on and not give up. And if you have the mentality that it's all lost, that's what holds people back. You got to remember when you try the second time, you've still got your knowledge and your experience. You're not starting over from nothing. You're not even starting over. There was a bump in the road, and you've gained knowledge, and you just got to really have persistence and not give up. Most companies, they don't make money in their first years. Most people who own businesses owned other businesses that failed. You just got to keep at it. And sometimes some of it, a lot of it's hard work. Some of it is luck too. You don't know if a hurricane or a volcano is going to blow up or whatever, but you just have to make the best of what you have and have a good attitude. And there's this experiment where they had these rats, and they put them in water, and they would they'd swim so long and they'd give up and drown. And then they started taking them out of the water right before they put them in the water. And it was a difference between minutes and hours, like several hours, where if they had hope that they might be rescued and they didn't give up, they could really tread water a lot longer than they thought they could. So right attitude is very, very important. Hey, baby.
Hello.
What you making?
I'm eating crackers and butter.
Crackers and butter.
You want?
Salt primer.
You want?
No, I'm full. I like to take sweet potato fries. I mix mustard and hot sauce together and dip them in that. And some people put cinnamon and sugar on sweet potatoes, but they're already sweet. I like sweet and spicy. No, I'm full. I'm gonna drink my coffee in a little bit. I wonder. I gotta get the little green caterpillar that's been eating in the squash. I gotta take a picture of it on Google Lens or something and figure out what it is. I always like to figure out what it is before I decide if I'm gonna keep it in or throw it away. Because some of these weeds in the garden, if you take a picture of them and look them up, they turn out to be medicines. They turn out to be Some of them are numbing agents. Some of them kill bacteria. Some of them fight cancer. You'll just think it's an absolutely worthless plant in the way, and then you take a picture of it, and it's like it cures cancer. Same thing with insects. There might be an insect where its venom kills a type of cancer. A lot of people, I think, one day will starve surrounded by food and just not have the knowledge that it's food. It's probably happened several times before. Be careful with Google Lens. Yeah, sometimes, like, let's say I wouldn't be like, take a picture of a mushroom on Google Lens and be like, for sure I can eat that, because it does make mistakes. But it can be a useful tool too. It sounds like good food combo. It's definitely going to get more accurate over time. Yeah, AI is getting better. I'm a little worried about AI. Just thinking about like my dad, he knows a lot more about computers than me. And he's not worried about AI. And he wasn't worried about Y2K. He's a programmer and networker. What is it? Huh? What happened? Something happened. Something secret happened?
I actually threw away my top
Of what?
to my soda.
This is okay.
I don't got another one right here.
Take a cap off of the other drink.
Alright, this is flat anyway.
One of the water bottles fits the same lid. And also there's a faucet at work. The lid off the Coke bottle will screw onto it.
Do you want this? It's flat.
No, I don't want no flat.
I'm pouring it out.
I'm gonna make some coffee in a little bit. I was talking to Brittany. I'm gonna record. I'm recording you.
You better don't. But I look ratchet.
She don't look ratchet.
Yes, I do. I look ratchet.
She looks.
I'm right.
But I want to figure out what they are. Sometimes, well, like aphids would get on tomato plants and just devastate them. But the coffee weed that was growing on the edge of my garden, I didn't pull it up. We normally always pull up coffee weed. And the year that I didn't pull up the coffee weed and just left some there on the side, all the aphids was on the coffee weed and none of them was on the tomatoes. I'm not promising this is going to work for you, but they didn't kill the coffee weed. Coffee weed was just fine. And they were aphids. And so they, like with dew and stuff, it can make honeydew that the bees could gather. And the ants that take care of them and all, they could be over there. And they left the tomatoes alone. So sometimes you can get the right balance, or sometimes, like, some of these bugs, I can feed my chickens. Some of these bugs are problems. Some of these bugs will, like, infest trees, burrow into them, and kill them on a large scale. Or so I figure out what they are. I've got an enemy list. But I try to make my land have more and more species of animals and plants that can harmoniously live together. And a lot of times there's a lot of synergy with that. Like if you plant sunflowers, if it's only you and sunflowers, you only get the benefit of sunflower seeds. But if you've got chickens, now you can feed the chickens. If you've got bees, now you're feeding the bees both pollen and nectar from the sunflower. If you've got birds, that eat some, so a lot of times, and if you've got animals that make manure that can help the parts of the plants that you don't eat can be fed to those animals that make manure. I see a lot of vegans put up these charts where they just do they show livestock and they talk about it not being as productive as growing vegetable crops. But see, a lot of these livestock are raised on places of land that can't support much more than grass. It's not going to be able to have things like broccoli, like the shitty land that only grows grass and stuff is what a lot of this livestock's on. And then they're cutting out the whole part that a lot of the very productive plants are being given manure from livestock. So there's a symbiotic relationship where the most productive farms have plants and animals. It's not that plants are over animals. And then a lot of this mineral content in the plants, our bodies can't readily absorb it anyway, like it can from the animals. So just because like spinach has a lot of iron in it, it doesn't mean your body's getting that iron or the calcium. And a lot of people talk about leafy greens have so much calcium. That's true, but your body can't extract that calcium as good as it can milk. So, or bone, you can grind up eggshells. There's all kind of things you can do, but and they're talking about trying to get rid of small private farms in 2030. And people just need to break the law with certain things. Like when they tell you can't gather rainwater or you can't have chickens, or you can't agree to that term of slavery. You've got to resist. You can't just go quietly into slavery and lose all your freedom and independence and become some kind of drone in the Borg. It's just not worth it. You have a great day. God bless you. Frag Grenade got something to do. I'm about to make me some coffee. I hear the rain frogs outside. I think I am about to get off live and just hang out with Brittany, though. But y'all have a good day. God bless y'all.